what's up everybody? Welcome to Gaming on Board. My name is Josh. Tonight we're going to take a look at another game by Leader Games, the same people that brought us Vast. And this is another great asymmetrical game. I call it Vast Light because it's a little bit simpler to learn to play, but just as good, if not better actually. And I'm talking about Root. This is the retail version of the game. I don't have the expansion yet. I didn't back it on Kickstarter. I picked it up at Cape Fear Games here in Wilmington, North Carolina. And yeah, I really love it so far. So let's go down to the table and I'll show you how it works and give you some of my thoughts.
All right. So this is Root, a game of woodland might and right by Cole Worley. I probably said that wrong. And Kyle Farron. Art by Kyle Farron. The art's really cool. It's very whimsical and I don't know how to describe it, but it's just very well done. So this is a 2 to 4 player game for ages 10 and up, 60 to 90 minutes. That all seems about right. Of course, the first game is going to take a little bit longer because you're getting used to all the different factions. So shows you a little setup there with all the different factions on the back and a little rundown for each faction. It's just, the whole design of this game is stunning. I mean, it's not, you know, really out there crazy designs or anything like that, but the art's just seamless. So this is the game board, and there are 2 different sides. So this is the basic side of the board where you'll have the score tracker here and all the different areas and the different things you can craft up there. And you'll see each of these areas has like a fox or a bunny or a mouse. So those are the different area types. And it's cool the way they did this because based on what structures you have built in these different areas, it produces that resource. So like whatever areas you control basically determines what you have access to. And then the other side of the board is this cool snow kind of theme here. And you'll notice there's no animal types here. So the game comes with these little half moon pieces that you can flip upside down, shuffle up, place them randomly, and then flip them over. So it'll give some variance to where the different locations are if you get tired of playing with, you know, the locations printed on the other side of this. So really cool double-sided game board. There's a Learn to Play book that will give you kind of like a 2 or 3 turn walkthrough. If you want to do that, makes it a lot easier to learn. And they give like an overview of all the different abilities from all the different factions with really well done examples for each. I haven't run into any rules that I couldn't either look up in here by looking at an example or looking at the Law of Root book. So this is the more detailed, in-depth explanation of each of the actions you can take. So this was a really good idea too, having basically the overview, Learn to Play, and then the detailed information about everything. And then this is the walkthrough that I talked about. Turn 1, turn 2 walkthrough. Gives you some good examples of different things you can do, and then you continue playing. So these are the player boards. Each of these will have a backside with a letter, so you'll know in which order you're supposed to do the setup. So see, the cats will do theirs first, and then the birds, and then the Woodland Alliance, and then the Vagabond, A, B, C, D. So that's really cool, and it does matter because everything you do, works. It's very well balanced. So even the setup is balanced specifically. So on here it'll tell you all the pieces you should have, and then it'll show you the complexity rating, card wealth, crafting ability, and aggression. Then it'll give you your setup steps and some tips on how to play that specific faction. Very cool. And they're all really unique. Like the birds will have a leader that you get to choose from. The Vagabond has quests and character cards. The Woodland Alliance don't even start on the board. You have to work your way through the lands. And then on the front here, it'll have like an ability reminder up at the top. And then your turn phases. So the bird song happens first. You'll get to do a couple things in preparation or cleanup usually, or income sometimes. And then the daylight is when most of the activity happens, and then the evening phase. And they're all so different. Like the Vagabond can make alliances with people or become hostile if they fight him, and his moves are all based on what he has, the items in his satchel. The Woodland Alliance will spread sympathy throughout the land, and then once they get enough sympathy, they can blow that up and set up bases and then start doing some military operations like recruiting and battling, and they score points by putting out sympathy. The birds start off with a little bit of presence, and you actually build your list of actions you do each turn, and then if you're not able to do any one of those actions, you go into turmoil, choose a new leader card, etc. But they score points by having a lot of roosts out on the board. So even if they go into turmoil, they still score points equal to the rightmost here. So as long as you've got the roosts out there and they're not being destroyed, you're scoring points every turn. And then finally, the cats will produce wood at all their sawmills, and they're basically just trying to build as much as they possibly can and rule as much area as they can. And so yeah, as for the birds, as you build roosts, you'll be able to draw more cards. That's what that little symbol there is. Here, as you build more recruiters, you'll be able to draw more cards, and you score points as you build these things. So really cool, asymmetrical, everything. I've got all of my different factions separated into their own baggies, so as soon as you choose who you want, I'll just give you the bag and you'll have everything you need. One cool thing is they give you 4 sets of these cards, so it'll tell you a board setup example for your chosen faction and the walkthrough for the if you want to use the initial walkthrough to help you learn how to play the game. And then every player will have an overview card for all 4 factions. So this will tell you what they're about, how they usually play, how to play against them, what to look out for. So that's really cool to have to refer to throughout the game and before the game starts. So there's the cats and the birds, all their cards. The Woodland Alliance, all their cards. The Vagabond only has 1 piece, but like I said, he's trying to make alliances with the other players and score when they score. Also, he can move around the wooded areas. Usually on this map, you can only move on these trails, and that's it. The Vagabond can actually move into the forest and repair his items and then move back out on a later turn. So that's another reason he only has 1 piece. And then here's the little pieces I told you go on the opposite side to mix things up. Little item tokens and ruins that are used for the Vagabond. And then these are the cards you'll be drawing. So this is also a really good use of multi-use cards in a game. So these cards can be used for various different things depending on the faction you're using. So sometimes you may be able to discard some of these to produce more wood, or discard a bird to take another action, or maybe you can craft it. So if you have whatever you require, whatever your faction requires to craft stuff in 2 different fox areas, then you can craft this, take the dagger, and score 2 victory points. And like I said, everybody has different things that they use to craft with. And then you have ambush cards that can be used during a battle to remove someone else's pieces from the board, or you can play an ambush against an ambush, which will cancel the first ambush. So it's kind of like a counter spell or something like that. Then you have these dominance cards where if you ever use this to pay for something using the suit, like I said, there's a bunch of different things you can use these cards for. You just have to look at your faction mat. But if you ever spend it for the suit, you put it out by the board and then anybody can claim it. So basically, as long as you have 10 points, at least 10 points, you can take this card during the daylight, remove your score marker from the board, and now this is your new win condition. So in this case, if you rule 3 fox clearings at the start of your bird song, that's the start of your turn, then you win the game. So points no longer matter to you, which is kind of weird to get used to because I've done this a couple times and I keep saying, oh, I can craft this for 2 points. So points don't matter anymore. The only thing you're worried about is this, so it completely changes the game. So yeah, everybody will draw from a central deck of these cards and discard to a central discard pile. Very cool. And then the way the battle works is if you choose the battle action, you'll roll these 2 dice. As the attacker, you always take the highest number. Unless you're fighting against the Woodland Alliance, then the Woodland Alliance always gets the higher number. And you do damage equal to whatever you roll, but limited to the number of pieces you have in the battle. So if you roll a 3 and you only have 2 pieces in the battle, you can only do a maximum of 2 damage. And then the defender will take the lower number, and same rules apply. They can only do damage equal to the number of pieces they have there. So if you're battling to defeat another player's structure and they have no pieces there, even if you roll 3 and 3, you're not taking any damage because they don't have any presence there. They just have the buildings. So that is a basic overview of Root and how it's played and everything you'll get in the box. And let's go back up top and I'll give you some of my thoughts on this very awesome game. So I know you already can tell that I enjoy it, but I do have a few thoughts on this. So yeah, let's go check it out.
All right, so Root. Beautiful, beautiful artwork. Amazing gameplay. You know, I've played as all of the factions except for the Vagabond so far, and I'm really looking forward to that because you only have 1 piece, whereas other players are going to be doing a lot more, as in putting, you know, workers or fighters, warriors out on the board, building more structures, and your role in the game is really just kind of watch what's going on, help a little bit here, help a little bit there. You can give them cards, which forces them to give you an item if they've crafted it. You can interact with the ruins. You can be hostile or friendly. It's really interesting. And then the cats, if it's your first game and you're playing with people that have never played, I would suggest requesting that you play the cats because they're a lot easier to play. It's real simple and straightforward. You make wood, you build sawmills and recruiters and workshops. Use the workshops to craft items, use the sawmills to get more wood in order to build more stuff, and the recruiters bring out warriors. Also, you start with presence spread out throughout the map, so you have a lot of different options. It just seems like a lot more straightforward way to score points. The birds are also pretty straightforward, but you have to be able to look, be able to look more in advance to see what's going to happen on your next turn or even the action after the action that you're on now. So it takes a little bit more planning. But I really like the birds, how the leader will actually give you a special ability depending on the leader that you choose. And then the Woodland Alliance, you really have to know what's going on, what the other factions are doing and how they work so that you can, kind of cut them off at the pass, cut them off here. You have to be a lot more precise and decisive about what you do as the Woodland Alliance. So, like I said, I've played the game quite a few times now, and it hasn't gotten samey at all. I mean, I don't see this one getting old very fast. Plus, there's already an expansion out, and if you back this on Kickstarter, you have that expansion. You know that. But the expansion's coming to retail pretty soon, I think a couple months now. It'll add 2 new factions and a solo mode. I always like a good solo mode. But the only thing I'm trying to think if there's anything bad I can say about this game. So, if you don't like asymmetrical games, then obviously this isn't for you because it's not going to be a perfectly even. It is close to a perfect information game because you know exactly what everybody's abilities are and where they are on the board and what they're capable of doing. But it's not, I dare say it's perfectly balanced, but it can't be perfectly balanced, right? But I haven't found any faction that's extremely overpowered. At first, I thought the Woodland Alliance was going to be extremely overpowered when I found out they always get the high rolls during combat, and they can just blow areas up and destroy all enemies on an area. But it's really up to them to make sure that they have the right cards to do it in the right areas. Because like I was saying, those cards are multi-use, and for the Woodland Alliance, they have to have 2, sometimes 3 of the same card, 3 cards from the same area. So in other words, 3 foxes or 3 rabbits to do a specific action. But when they do, it's a really big turn. So they build a base and they recruit some guys and they start moving around. And as long as you can knock them back down, I can go on and on about all these different things about the different factions. But yeah, if you don't like asymmetrical games, this one isn't for you. If you don't like, games where you have to plan your turns ahead instead of just looking at the board state and doing whatever's best right now, this isn't for you. You probably won't do that well. You have to plan ahead, and there's a little bit of politics in it. You could do some alliances here and there. There's nothing in the rules that I saw about doing it or not doing it. But I'm not really a big politics game player. I usually don't do stuff like that unless it's in the game, like in Rising Sun. But anyways, I highly suggest this one. 2 thumbs up from Gaming on Board for Root. So yeah, check it out. As always, thank you for watching and play all the games.